Hey guys, it's Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome in today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing. Pause this video. Go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.
Guys, welcome to an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. My guest today is a philosopher, a counselor, psychotherapist, a certified mindset coach, a certified NLP coach, practitioner, clinical supervisor, trainer, and a hypnotherapist and author. Please welcome in Byron Athene. Byron, that's a lot, man. Let me just say that's a lot there, bud.
Well, I've been doing this for a little while, so every now and again.
You think so? You got enough titles going there. You should have like a little ticker every time you appear somewhere, and then it just falls behind you like a plane. Well, anyways, Byron, thank you so much for coming, man. It's great to have you here. So why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself? I mean, you got all these great titles and everything. So obviously you've been doing a lot. You've done a lot. You've been kind of covering everything at this point.
Yeah, so well, my interest in psychology and philosophy started around 33 years ago when I discovered a fairly important psychological, philosophical idea. That's what prompted me to explore philosophy, psychology. Because before that happened, I didn't even know what those subjects were. I guess I was like an average 21-year-old, didn't really care about that sort of stuff. That intelligent, heady stuff. So I then found this idea. I then thought, well, surely other people must have found this. And so I kind of researched, and I realized that, well, no one else had. So I thought about becoming a therapist back then. That was like 93, 94. But I've got a speech impediment. I've got a stutter. And I felt like it just would have been a double standard to try to help people with their issues when I couldn't even help myself with my speech impediment. So I kind of buried myself and hid in office jobs. I developed a growth mindset around 2012, 2013 or so. And that's before I knew what growth mindset was, but I learned how to draw. And I realized that, well, if I can draw, I think I can do anything pretty much. So I realized I had a general growth mindset, but I had a fixed mindset about my career and my speech. So I thought, well, what career do I want to do? I remember that I wanted to be a therapist years ago. I realized that my speech didn't really have to be the obstacle that I thought it was. So I started a course, which was hypnotherapy, first year, then counselling for the next 2 years. On the final year of my main counselling course, I also started to train to be a coach, mindset coach, NLP coach practitioner. I've been in private practice for about 5 years. And in that time, I've become a clinical supervisor as well and a trainer. And I'm just about to publish my first book.
Okay, so the book, let's talk about what's your book called? Because I didn't see anything in the profile, and I was interested to know what your book is going to be titled.
Yeah, the book is called Find Your Path to Resilience.
Okay.
Find Your Path to Resilience. It's part of a series of books called Find Your Path to. Like there's a Find Your Path through depression, Find Your Path through imposter syndrome. So this is Find Your Path to Resilience.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Is this the start of the series, or these are other books that you already have previously published?
Well, no, the other books are books in the series that the publishing house has published, but so my resilience book is going to be just my contribution to that series.
Okay, well, that's pretty good though. I mean, that's really interesting. Not every day you get to meet somebody who has a book. And I get a lot of authors on their show, so it's really not surprising. And that maybe that's what was telling me that you needed to come on, is because we needed to talk about this book you're about to bring out, anyways.
Good stuff.
But along with the 10,000 titles and the giant banner for falling behind you. Anyways, but that's pretty cool, man. So like, how did the idea for the book come about? Are you just contributing to it? Have you any self-published titles of your own?
Yeah, well, I was actually in the middle of writing a book, which was because I've developed my own therapeutic approach based
Yeah.
on a few existing approaches, neuroscience or philosophy, and that discovery that I refer to. And so I was going to write a book about that. Then, out of the blue, someone from a publishing company asked if I could write a book either on acceptance, resilience, and another topic. I forget what it is right now. This was like last August or so, and I said, well, yeah, I think I could write a book on all of those things. So I chose acceptance, but we met up, and she asked Sophie, is the editor, commissioning editor. Sophie said, well, actually, do you mind writing it on resilience instead? I said, well, of course, I think I can write it on resilience. I think resilience is a very kind of universal issue, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
imposter syndrome is an interesting one too,
yeah,
though, if you think about it as well, though, because
yeah.
that's
And,
something I deal with myself. So,
oh, really? Still?
you know what? It's because the fact this show is taken off so much. It's hard for me at times to realize it, though. Like
Okay.
I always downplay it a lot. People are like, "Oh, you're doing such great things." I'm like, "But am I really though?" In my head, I'm thinking, "Am I really though?" Like this show's booked all
Yes.
the way out to about a year out now. We're well past the full year point when I hit September 15th, be the first year of this show, and I'm already
Yeah.
booked well beyond that point at this point. And it's just it's just something that it's weird because I heard my name on a podcast today too, man. And I was just like, it was just starstruck to me. I was like, whoa,
Oh,
hold on,
wow.
they're mentioning me, like,
Yeah, wow.
and it was
That must have been
funny.
surreal.
You know what I mean? It's just like I didn't know how to respond. I almost fell over. I was like, oh, what? Hold on, they're mentioning my name now. Okay, never mind. And the two people didn't realize I knew both of them. I had
Okay.
interviewed one, and I've been on the other one's show.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I know Pete. I'm like, they're talking about me. Yes, it was so funny because they were just randomly talking, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, do you know Pete versus anxiety? I'm like, oh God, they're talking about me, man. Oh crap, So, but it's always interesting though when you get people here because I meet the strangest. I've met some of the strangest people on here, but it's the greatest conversations ever, though, man. Like the things that have happened on this show, and we're not even a year out, man. And it's like God knows what we're gonna run into in the next few months here, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, that's great. It's great. It's great. It gathered so much traction so quickly.
Oh my God, yeah. Dude, we're on a podcast network now already. I think I was the second or third day I actually posted the idea out there, just checking to see if people would even be interested in guests on the show. And then my inbox was just blown up by just messages, and then all of it, because I started with Facebook and then I finally moved to an actual scheduler. And that's when it shot out to like July of 2025, and mind you, we're only in November of last year when this started happening. And I was just like, dude, this is insane. Like somebody pinched me. Like this show's taken off. And that's just Mondays. The beginning of the year is when I did the site we're now, where I met you and everybody else I've met through. It's like I just started feeling like, let's bust open the books here a bit and see what else we can come up with. And ever since then, it's just been a great time. I've met all these really cool people, different aspects of things, learning all new things, and things like that. So it's been really great.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
So you've been doing a lot of podcasts yourself?
I have actually. I mean, because of this idea I've referred to, I thought I think it's time to start just almost like spreading the word. So when I first joined podcast, had a conversation with my wife because I joined podcast, but I didn't really do much about it. I had a conversation with her, and she said, "Well, why don't you go on podcasts?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I think that was my plan. I wasn't really proactive." So that's when I started just to reach out to people, and so in a really short space of time, I appeared on like 10 podcasts in around 2 months or so. And yeah, I think I've appeared on around 35 podcasts since the 2 years I've been doing podcasts for. The second person I did a podcast with, we built up a really, really good relationship. So we've got an ongoing plan. So I appear on his podcast the last Thursday of the month. So we're going through an alphabet thing. So we just used to just talk about stuff. Now we plan to just do a show covering A to Z of philosophy and psychology. We're up to, well, we just did G yesterday. We spoke about God yesterday, so that was interesting. H is going to be heaven. That's going to be
well, that's so cool though. Do you guys have it posted anywhere for people to listen to?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's Bill.
Well, plug it, man. We got to plug
Yeah,
that thing. Come on,
yeah,
Byron, we got to plug it, man.
Bill Holtz.
Yeah.
That's the person's name. So he's on Spotify. He's on YouTube as well. So
Okay. That's good though. That's awesome though. I mean,
yeah,
you enjoying it? Is it fun? I know it's something new for people. Like when I started podcasting, it was just me and some friends messing around, and then I took a break and I was like, you know what? I need to switch the topics to talk about mental health because I was dealing with my own problems. You know, I have my own things to deal with and things. And then it became a journey of self-discovery because all the people I met had taught me new things as I go. So I start learning more about myself as I was going. So it's kind of gone to the evolution of me from where I started. But, you know, I bring in all these great people such as yourself that just start like, you know, telling people about the different things they do and all the different things, you know, where to find you guys and things like that. It's great because then you have all these different connections you make with people. And then you can reach out and ask them for stuff. Like if you need help with something, hey, Byron, I got a question, you know, and then just kind of reach out and just network. And it's been so great ever since, man. I love it. I think it's great. I don't think I think I'm so glad I did it. I think at first I had my hesitations, but it's like, you know, is anybody really going to listen to this thing? But God, I guess so. We're at over 100 live episodes already of this thing, and we're not even done with a full year. So
wow. And do you know how many listeners you have? Like how many live like tune-ins and
when I'm live, it depends. I think the most I've ever had live is 15. I average about 1 to 2 every time I'm live here and there. Depends on the day. Sometimes it's more. It just kind of depends live wise. Listener wise, I know I get about 50 to 60 on the YouTube videos at least. And then my other side, I haven't. I'm been monitoring it. I think I'm about 500 downloads now, which I get. That side's monetized, so I make 10 cents for every download on that. So
yeah. Oh, cool.
It's going, you know, I'm looking at the numbers like my YouTube page. The last time I looked at it, I think for the last 30 days, I had 29,000 views. And then my Instagram has been blowing up like crazy. Like all these people just started following me last week. I had like at least 150 new people. I was just like, this is driving me. I was like, oh my God, these people are following me. It's so surreal though, you know, because you're just like, it just hits you, man. And it's just like, oh, okay. And all I'm doing is having conversations with people about mental health itself, you know, and things like that too. So
yeah,
it's pretty crazy though. But listen, so let me ask you a question. Okay. If your mental health had a song, what would it be, Byron?
If my mental health had a song, what would that song be?
It's a good question, isn't it? Byron's like, I don't know.
Don't Give Up by Groove Armada.
There you go. Okay. All right. I like it. Okay. That works. Yeah. I think it's interesting too when you ask people about that, though, because they all look at you kind of weird for a second. They're like, oh, yeah, man, that's actually really good. How the hell do we do that? Hold on. Let me think about this one for a minute. And things like that, you know? So it's very interesting. So do you have any plans in the future? Any other future books coming down the line? You know, because I know you do so many different things. So what is like the main thing you work on the most? Is it just kind of you offer so many different options, obviously?
Yeah. Well, the main thing I do the most is therapist. I'm in private practice, but I also work with an EAP. I'm not sure what EAP is. So yeah, so that's what I do most of the time. I do the occasional coaching session, the very occasional training session. This book, his first book, will hopefully be the first of a few. I mean, if I'm not commissioned by the publisher, I've definitely got more books I could write in my head. Anyway, I'm currently also doing a research project, and so that's so I'm currently writing a dissertation that I need to submit by end of next month. So that's something that's taken up quite a bit of my time now, just getting my head around like the data analysis and yeah, that's something that should
you got a lot going on there, buddy, don't you?
One or two things, yeah.
One or two things. It seems like it, man. Well, that's so cool though. So you do therapy mostly, and then do you add in the other stuff as needed, like hypnotherapy and things like that? What kind of times does it call for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, so therapy mainly, but then the other things as and when. And to be honest, I am a hypnotherapist, but I do prefer counselling over hypnotherapy, because although I could put someone in and hypnotic trance and help their subconscious deal with the issue that they're coming to me to resolve, my preference or my rationale is I can work with someone's subconscious, great, but the thing I prefer to do is the work of their conscious, because at least then they'll be in the driver's seat. So that's what counseling can do. So if you want to be hypnotized, I can do it, but I would say, are you sure you don't want therapy first?
No, we want everything fixed now, Byron. Stop, okay? We want it now, not later. We don't want to wait for these things to happen, you know. And it's beneficial for some people. Other people are just kind of like, I don't know, you know, just hypnotize me, man. And you're just like, okay, sure, why not? If that's really what you want, but I guess.
Yeah. I wouldn't say no. I would just kind of, I guess, give them a consultation first.
Yeah. So do you specialize in any areas? You know, like some people specialize anxiety and PTSD, things like that. Do you have any specialty areas, or are you just kind of general?
Well, I specialize in emotions, and so that means I specialize in anxiety, because anxiety is another emotion. So trauma as well, trauma, depression, anxiety. Those are the main ones.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's it like doing emotion therapy though? It's got to be kind of draining some days, huh?
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I found a way to healthily detach myself.
Oh,
from,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard of narrative therapy?
No, I have not.
Okay,
Actually, I think if somebody's mentioned it to me, I'm not really sure what that is though.
Okay, well, now narrative therapy makes clear that we're not directly interacting with the world or reality. We're directly interacting with our stories or narrative about the world and reality, and those stories and narratives then become our reality. So if you take that on board, you can then appreciate that no matter what someone tells you, it is a narrative. So I'm not going to be like burnt out or exhausted by someone telling me anything, because I know that's just part of their narrative. So my narrative isn't going to engage with their narrative in an unhealthy way that will lead to me being overly attached or burnt out.
Is that something you learned over time though? I mean, obviously it wasn't something you knew right off the bat, or were you already prepared for that?
Oh no, it's something something I realized in my personal life. So when I started to work in the way that I did work, it was something I just kind of then did, I guess.
So have you always wanted to do psychology? I know you said it's been X amount of years since you've done it. Is it something you've always been interested in? Because I know philosophy is an interesting subject to be in too as well.
Yeah, I guess. And well, thinking about it, psychology is just another branch of philosophy, really.
Right.
So
true point.
Yeah, so when I did enter philosophy in the way that I did, I realized that, well, pretty much we're all philosophers, whether we kind of admit it or not. Like, we're all psychologists, whether we admit it or not. So if you learn the fundamentals, then we will just be better at it.
Yeah, true. Okay, good point. All right, makes sense. Making me feel. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, but you know, it's just interesting because a lot of people that are therapists end up going to like different areas of things. You know, they don't always stay in the same spot. A lot of them I've met recently have all gone like energy healing and things like that and stuff like that. Is any of that stuff ever interested you by chance?
Not really. No. I'm more of a straightforward work with the mind, work with the subconscious, work with the conscious. I mean, other things might work, but I suppose I'm more scientifically minded. I
could see that though with the philosophy side that you're really interested in, you know, things like that. I could see where the science comes in, a lot of that. You know, was it always an interest as a kid though, philosophy? I mean, it's always an interesting thing to get into.
Not at all. Like I said, I as a kid, I didn't even know what philosophy was. Like, so no.
What did you want to be as a kid? Let's ask you that one. How about that one?
Oh God, as a kid, I don't know.
It's always interesting because you know what the funny thing is, I always said I wanted to be an astronaut, man. And after you realize how much science goes in there, it's just like in math, I'm like, maybe that's too much for me.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I wanted to be the first career I wanted to do in a almost like concrete, well, this is possible if I apply myself, was probably a journalist, because I've always liked writing. I've liked writing since I was like, I don't know, like 10 or something. So I thought I could become a journalist, but there was something about the the process and like the education that kind of put me off. So I kind of took the easy route and just went for office work, because I didn't have to go to university, or I didn't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I took the easier route out.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Like I said, I thought about I want to be an astronaut, man. I was always fascinated with space, and everything about it and all that kind of stuff. And then it was what I want to be a chef. And then it was like, yeah, I really didn't like that training too much either, and it's just like, I love food. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge foodie guy. I love going to check out new places and try different things and like experience all the stuff. And, one of my passions is I want to go tour Europe and just try everything, and see and at the same time, I want to go like Greece and see like the architecture and stuff, because because I studied art for a while in college when I went to school, and I've always wanted to go see the architecture and things like that, the different temples and things. I thought it would always be so cool, and try the food and things like that at the same time. It's still a dream of mine. It still can happen, but here I am now running this podcast. It takes up most of my life, but it's okay though.
Yeah, I've been to Greece a couple of times. Actually,
just rub it in, buddy. Just rub it in. Go ahead, keep rubbing it in for me.
Best trip of my life. It was great.
I bet it was, man. It's like I said, I've always been fascinated like that, or Italy. Just travel Italy and just try the different foods, because North and Southern Italy are both different types of cuisine that people, everybody wants to put it all into one category. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't kind of work like that. There's like major differences between the two, though.
Yeah, for sure. So, Pete, I meant to ask you after I answered your question about the song, mental health song. What's your mental health song?
Okay, so listen, I have several different options for this one. Okay, so it depends on the days that I'm feeling down. It's Leave a Light On, Talk the Dark Away by Papa Roach. The music video itself is very powerful. If you watch the beginning of it and the end of it, it has the suicide hotlines in it, and I think it's powerful because not a lot of people know that it's there, and it's always something I always tell people about. It's like, hey, if you need help, man, reach out and get help is basically the idea of it. Now, the days where it's chaotic, I can't think of the band name, but it's the beginning of the movie is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That I know there's a band that plays that first intro song that he does, that he's just going completely berserk on. And the days when my anxiety's high, let me tell you, it's like that. It's just all over the place, just really, kind of noisy, jumping around, everything like that. So It was an interesting conversation piece, though. The question did come up because I had a guest on the show named Gretchen. She runs the podcast, The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads, and she asked me the same question. So I'm like, no, now I'm going to steal your question. Start asking everybody else the same question. Because I've done so many other different podcasts. I've done the Humanity 2.0 was an interesting one. I also got asked, what does humanity mean to you? And that was always an interesting question to ask people too, because you get different responses to everybody what their different thoughts are, and that kind of stuff. And it's always intriguing. So every time I meet new people that ask me these interesting questions, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to borrow that one now and go see what I can find out about it, because it's so interesting when you put people on the spot, especially that one too. Like I had one person, she was like, damn, that's a good question. What is that going to be? It's like, and it's funny because I just like, I try to keep the conversation as casual as possible, because I feel like if I could sit here and drill you 20 questions, I mean, we'll get answers from you, but we're not going to get the genuine answers from you.
Yeah.
And that's my thing, is just like, I love doing this because I get to meet people and, we get to talk about mental health. So, because I deal with anxiety myself and depression, and it just kind of like goes hand in hand. It's hard sometimes for people to understand a lot of this stuff. And I know a lot of people go like, oh, well, if you're sad, just cheer up. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate you telling me something I thought I could do too. Yeah. Or it's like in your brain, your anxiety starts kicking in. Then it's like, oh, well, you just need to calm down. Yeah, see, that's not how it works. Like, it's not a light switch. You're not just flicking it on and off. It doesn't turn off, It always makes me laugh ever since starting this show, because the more I've learned about things and different stuff, it's like when people start to talk to me, I just start laughing in my head, because I'm just like, it's so funny how little you really know, don't you? And if you want to... you want to explain it to them, but at the same time, you're thinking at that crossroad of like, is it really worth trying to, or should I go for it? Because, these people with these different mentalities, like I deal with a lot of people from older to younger, and their thought processes are all different. It's very interesting to hear their different opinions.
Yeah.
Because I tell people I do a mental health podcast, and they're like, some of them go, okay, that's great. And the other ones are like, oh, really? What's it called? What do you do? I'm like, we just have a conversation, man. I invite people on. We just have a general conversation about things. We talk about it, and stuff like that. And it's just like, it gets more interesting too. I think the most interesting moment that we've had on this show, we had a guy talk about his suicidal ideation. And
Okay.
oh my God, Byron, let me tell you, when I say people went flying off the handle, they're like, oh God, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, he's actually quite all right. Actually, you'd be surprised to know that he's actually talking to you, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
shows you like how little
Definitely.
people know about it. And it's like, in the beginning, it was let's break the stigma that the mental health talked about it, because it's not. I don't feel like it is enough for most people. I think the conversation, but now since starting this show, I've met so many other people that have mental topic podcasts and stuff, and it's great because each one of them have their own style. And I met a younger person named Caitlin. She runs the I Need a Friend podcast, and I told her, I was like, man, it's awesome to get your voice in here, because the more voices we get, the stronger this message becomes.
That's true.
You know, and the more people are being more being taught more about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel like people know enough, or we don't know enough. You know, our first defense is, well, you know, let's go ahead and start shunning it away and say that people are crazy, when it's really not that they're crazy. It could just be something else that's underlining.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I think what's definitely been good recently is that I think people are finding it more comfortable. They're seeing the benefits of talking about mental health issues, because whereas before it just wasn't something we spoke about. It was something that like swept under the rug, and we all have mental health. So that's strange. It's strange that it was almost taboo. So it's not nearly as taboo. So the fact
it seems like as this goes on, more and more shows keep showing up, and I love it. I love it so much, because a lot of people are like, oh, they find this show and they're like, oh, it's so awesome what you do. I'm like, all I'm doing is having a conversation, man. I am by no means a trained psychologist of any sort. I'm just a guy that is just interested in the subject alone, about as I go through my own journey at the same time, you know. And I love it that more people are having the conversation now that this show has started, and a lot of other people want to do podcasts. So every day I meet, a lot of people are like, oh, now I want to go do a podcast too. What do I got to do? And then you tell them, oh man, and the looks you get, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you realize how much work goes into this thing after a while, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was rough, man. I was stressing out trying to do everything myself, but now I figure out there's digital calendars, which are great. Now they schedule themselves basically. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about filling these in. Now I'll pick up extra people along the way. Like I meet people on Instagram and people I interact with, and different people I meet in these message boards and things like that. I love scooping them up and bring them in, especially people that have podcasts, because I'm always interested to know what their podcast's about and things like that, you know. And then when you hear mental health, I was like, all right, awesome. Yeah, let's connect. I'm always about connecting people. So it's great because, you know, the more people you know, the more friends you make, man. I love it. This circle's been great. I have some really great friends. I don't know if you've been on any other shows, like what is it? Emotionally Unavailable is one of them. Mentally a Badass is another one. Friend of mine, she as well. Justine runs that one. I don't know if you've ever been on some of these. I know they're on the same site we are, so I don't know if they've ever reached out yet.
No, not they don't sound familiar. No.
Well, Byron, we'll have to change that for you, buddy. We'll have to get you on there, okay, man? I'll have to reach out to them for you and let them know, because I love connecting people all together, man. It's great, and you know,
I'm game. Yeah, I'm game, definitely.
He's like, sure, I'll bring my whole titles with me too. I'm telling you, man, you have to get one of those jackets with the little notice that the little ticker thing on the back of it, so you just run all your titles across it. Like, Byron, so what do? You just turn around and just show him and just starts listing them off for him. Oh my God, that's great, man. So you said you were working on something, right? What is it that you're working on though? What's the topic of it? You had to turn it in, you said.
Research paper. Okay,
yeah, what's the research paper? I'm curious now. What are you researching?
So I'm researching a theory of emotion. In fact, that's the reason why I reached out to podcast, so I can share my theory of emotion, because I think I've discovered the real reason why we have negative emotions, and it's
all right. Well, lay it on us, Byron. Tell us what your theory is. We're interested.
It's the game changer. Okay, so all right. So first, what I'll do, I'll describe three common theories first, and then I'll introduce my theory. So
sounds good. Hey, let's go for it.
The first common theory that lots of people believe is the contrast theory. So the contrast theory is lots of people believe that bad emotions exist only because if they didn't, the good emotions wouldn't feel as good. Okay. So the bad exists because if they didn't, the good wouldn't feel as good. And obviously that's not true. Our bad and good emotions aren't connected to one another. They
Yeah.
are separate. They're separate. So then the second theory, which is more sensible, I guess, but more, just as disprovable. The second theory is the function theory. The function theory is our bad emotions exist because in certain situations, they serve us better than our good emotions. So in some scenarios, feeling negatively will be more beneficial to you than feeling positively. And people use the examples of like anger. Anger could be useful. And I'm not saying that anger isn't useful, but usually negotiating will get you better results than becoming angry, because you can be angry and that might stop someone doing something you don't like, but they could respond with more anger. So you've now made a situation worse, not better.
Yeah.
So I used to think this theory was true for one emotion in one specific circumstance. I thought it was true for fear. In the circumstance of your life or the situation of your life being in danger, because then you'll activate survival mode, and that means you'll run faster or fight harder. But since research, I've learned that the fight, flight, and freeze response, or the survival mode response, kicks in before the emotional response, which means it activates before we have an opportunity to feel a certain way. So even in that situation, your fear is not helping you.
Yeah.
So then there's the inevitability theory, as in bad emotions are just inevitable. They're an unavoidable, inescapable part of life, which it's and that's, I think that can be generally disproved by considering, well, we can reframe events. I think it's more true to say that bad events might be inevitable. I don't think it's as true to say that we are bound to feel bad because of those bad events, because we can look at that bad event in a different way and feel good even because of it. So okay, so those are the three theories that I get out of the way first before I introduce my theory, which it might sound a bit out there. So rather than me tell you what the theory is, Pete, I'm going to ask you two questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two really easy, simple to answer questions. Just say the first thing that comes to mind, and you'll be on the right track, I'm sure. So, in answering these two questions, you are going to be unknowingly telling me what the theory is. All I'm going to do is just fill in the blanks afterwards. Okay. Question one: why do babies cry usually, generally?
Because they're hungry, or they need a diaper change, or they just want to cry.
Excellent. A baby cries usually, generally, because there's something they need or want, and they don't have any other form of communication, so they cry. Excellent. So, question two: what is a typical response to the baby crying from the caregiver or someone close to them?
Oh God, let me think. What are the other ones too? First one to come to mind. Baby needs something, or what is it? Usually you're in bed, you're slapping your significant. Okay, it's your turn to get the baby.
A typical response is that the baby is tended to. The person tries to work out what they're trying to communicate. Okay, so here we go. The theory that I'm suggesting makes more sense than those three theories that don't make as much sense. I call the baby theory, and that makes clear that the only reason why adults still feel bad is that we needed to feel bad as babies to alert someone that there was something wrong in our environment. And it's a process we are still unconsciously still running.
I think you're right, though. I mean, think about it, because, whenever you feel bad, you usually make some kind of noise or crying noise or something like that to get your significant other or somebody else to care. Yeah, you're right. That does make a lot of sense. Now I'm playing it through my head here. It's like, it kind of is the same theory, though. I mean, think about it, because when you're upset, either you have the emotion or you have the facial features, or somebody can tell you do something so people know you're upset. You slam things, you tend to knock things, you know what I mean? Something like what a baby would technically do is make some sort of sound or some kind of notification to you that they're upset about something, and it makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So, and I'm not saying that we use it in the same way, because we now have communication, so we don't have to cry. We don't have to just I don't know, be kind of completely helpless like a baby is. But what I'm talking about is that original process is still running. So someone can feel bad about something and they're running that same initial process, which means they think there's a problem, and they are automatically reverting to the original way of prompting someone to intervene and solve that problem, even though they might keep it to themselves, even though they might not be able to change the situation, because I try to, and every time I share this, I don't share it in a I'm the emotions expert, save some time, take my word for it. I want people to try and disprove it, because when I discovered this, I thought, no way can this be true. So I tried to disprove it, and I wasn't able to. So the way I encourage people to try to disprove it is to think about it in this way. Can you think of a time where you had a negative emotion and you didn't think there was a problem of some kind? Because I'm saying every time we have a negative emotion, because we're running that obsolete program a baby needed, we feel bad because that's just what the baby needed to do, and we haven't stopped doing it, so we still do it. So you can disprove this if you can think back to a time when you felt bad and you didn't think there was a problem. Can you think of such a time?
No, I think you're right, though. Like I said, I think you're right, though. You're onto something there, because we still technically do it in some form or fashion. It's like, and a lot of us do it worse than others, because we're quote unquote babied, by either the significant other, or you have the parents that are very overprotective that baby you continuously, instead of you learning how to deal with it like, an adult, as we like to say, but
So I've had this theory for around 32 years. I had an opportunity to do a research course to try to prove it scientifically. So that's what I'm doing.
That's interesting, though. It's a really cool idea, though. I mean, it is hard to disprove, though. I mean, think about it, because when people get upset, they do something to let you know they're upset, like a baby would. It's like it's it's the same principle, the idea, except for obviously. Well, okay, I'm not going to say something. We're not crying, because some of us do. It just depends. It depends. It happens. It's emotions. Things that you run through anyways.
Yeah.
And it's. Yeah, it's a good theory, actually. I gotta say, I like it. I'm trying to play it through my head. I'm thinking, like, yeah, man, that's actually really interesting, because that's a real good point.
Thanks. Yeah. So that theory was finding that was the impetus to become a therapist. I thought, oh my God, if this is true, I need to share it. But then I thought, actually, I can't, because I can't talk properly. So
yeah,
I thought, let me not be a therapist. But then I've developed a growth mindset, and I thought, actually, maybe I can be a therapist. And so that's what.
Yeah, you finally stop talking yourself out of it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
mean, a lot of people. That's why a lot of people don't do a lot of things. It's like, well, I can't do that, and they always say, I can't. They always have that negative thought process, and it's like. Why do you keep, like, what is that movie? Yes Man with Jim Carrey, where he's like, yes, he says yes to everything is the theory.
Yeah.
It's like, what if people started saying yes to certain things? Obviously, let's be a little rational here before somebody starts coming with some wacky ideas of, well, you said say yes to everything. Come on, because somebody's gonna do it. Somebody's gonna be like, comment, like, oh, well, they told me to say yes to go commit this crime. I'm like, no, we didn't. We didn't tell you to do something of that sort. Because somebody's gonna do it with the internet nowadays. Somebody's gonna take that and run with it. Go, oh well, Byron and Pete told me to go do this. I'm like, wait, no, we didn't. We didn't say do that. Now, calm down. So that's so cool, though. So I had a question for you, though. For emotions for kids, how early do you think it is they should really start learning about their emotions? Because I've met a few gentlemen that have early as 5 years old that can regulate their emotions better than most adults can.
Really? At 5? Okay, that's surprising. That's surprising.
There's a gentleman named Leroy that's in Canada. Okay, he has a book called Just Breathe. So the theory is that he's teaching the kids, take a breath before you react. So Leroy actually works as a principal too.
Good idea.
So he's practiced it in the school he's the principal of, and he said he has kids as early as 5 years old that are, already aware of things like that. And he said, like, he pulled them aside and try and talk to them and say, hey, what happened? And the first words out of most of their mouths are, well, I should just take a breath and just thought about it before I did it. And I was just like,
yeah, excellent.
And it's so crazy, because they're like, they are more in control of their feelings than most adults are at this age. And it's just wild to me. But at the same time, it makes sense. If we teach them at an early age, I think we set them for better off later down the road. Would you not agree with that, though?
Oh God, no, definitely. I'm gonna say something potentially controversial here. Okay, so even though I'm a therapist, I don't think people need therapy per se. I think people could benefit from psychoeducation.
Yeah.
If we learned just a few simple principles about how the mind works when we were young enough to understand, then we wouldn't go on to develop issues. But we don't learn that basic stuff.
Yeah.
We then develop issues, and then we go to therapy to try to resolve the issues, and that's only as successful as the receptiveness of the client and the skills of the therapist. So if we had that basic understanding taught in schools, then I think we would just have a better understanding of our subconscious processes, and we probably wouldn't go on to develop issues.
Well, there's a gentleman I met named Brian DeCasio. He's the founder of a World Empowered. He's actually working on an app right now. I think when I last talked to him, he said he was still working, getting through the tech stages, or had some issues with it. But he was trying to develop an app that as early as kindergarten, he could teach these kids how to start learning how to regulate their emotions and things.
Okay.
And he was doing it through an app. He's like, spend 15 minutes, just spend 15 minutes a day. That's all you have to spend is 15 minutes with these kids. Let them run through the app, and the app would basically teach them how to regulate their emotions at a younger age. So they may be on the verge of that actually happening sooner than you think, though. There's, like I said, he was on the show as early as January when we talked to him. And he was talking about it, and I actually ran into him recently. I've been keeping in touch with him. He's been working on it. So he had a little tech issue, which, I mean, I could see that happening. Tech is just tech. But he had came up with that idea. He was like, hey, this app that basically teach kids how to regulate emotions as early as kindergarten. I was like, that's actually fantastic. But he said that a lot of the schools here in the States are pushing back on it. I'm like, I don't know why. If this is beneficial, why do we have to push back so hard on that?
Yeah, maybe someone somewhere is feeling threatened. I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing too, man. It doesn't make sense to me, because if it's beneficial to these kids, why not? Let's teach them now.
Yeah.
That way they can have a better future, and then they don't have to deal with the same problems we do now.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, go on.
No, you're good. Good, you're good.
I was going to say, yeah, you saying that reminds me of I read an article a year or so ago about certain Inuit people who live in environments, or live in kind of communities where anger isn't a thing, and they teach that to their children by not responding to the children's anger. So I'm like, well, yeah, surely we use anger because anger works sometimes. So if you're in an environment where anger doesn't work, you just wouldn't do it. So I thought, genius idea.
It is. It's so easy, and it's, if we teach them now, we won't have to worry about so many of these problems later on. And to me, it's just puzzling that why it is that people feel so threatened by the ideas of teaching these kids how to emotionally regulate now, versus letting it just get worse, and then something, just coming out of the outcome of it. And, I think it's a great idea, honestly. I hope like I said, I keep in touch with him all the time to see how he's doing with it and everything like that. And I hope that he gets it to roll out, because it would make a lot of sense, though, because if you can teach them that young, just like Leroy's simple principle of, hey, teaching these kids to take a breath before they think about things, just, take a deep breath and just think about what you're going to do next. Like, not only are we causing a lot of less conflict, because think about it, they're thinking about what they're going to do next. Like, is this really worth getting mad about, or should I? Yeah. You're teaching them conflict resolution as well, kind of a bit too, because you're teaching them how to think about everything. And I thought it was great, though, when I met him, because he has a book. He has the book that's actually published. It's called just that, Just Breathe. And it's funny, because my wife and my stepdaughter like that. She tells her the same thing: just breathe. Just take a deep breath. And she's 4 years old, and it's a world of a difference. So when my kids were that age, I wish I would have known some of these things too, because, man, it would have been so much easier, because like the things that she does with her is way different than mine. And it's like, I'm watching her interact, and she's like, hey, guys, just breathe. It's okay. And you see a world of difference from her, not so much overreacting and things like that. You'll have those spats sometimes where she overreacts and things like that. But most of the time, no, you don't see that much out of her. She actually is really well mannered when it comes to that kind of stuff. And she's only 4 years old, man. And if we can teach, like I said, we can start them as young as that, we're off to a better start than most of us are.
Definitely. If that person keeps up with the attitudes, then by the time they're 10 or 11, then they are gonna, as you said, manage their emotions much better than most adults.
Yeah,
even by 10, 11.
Yeah, and it'd be great, though. And I think that's why the conversation mental health should happen sooner too for some of these kids, so they understand, like, that that these are things people deal with. Like, don't be afraid of it if you start experiencing some of these issues and things like that. And suicide's one of them too. I think that they need to talk to some of these kids younger too, Bob, because the young boy age of percentage is going up. It's not going down, it's going up. So this is it's getting crazy at this point that we have to, this is a number that's going up. It's like we need to talk about it, but we know it's a problem, but we don't solve the problem. That's the issue I'm having with this. And that's why it's great, like podcasts like mine and other people's that exist, that we can get these conversations going. That way we can start having conversations with people about this. More people understand that these statistics we don't want the negative numbers. We want positive numbers at this point.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy though, because it's like, we know it's a problem. Here in the States, they blame like everybody about, these school shooters all had mental health issues. Okay, so if you knew they had issues, then why did we solve these problems?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as you said, they sweep it under that rug. Oh no, never mind, forget it. Why are we going to deal with it now? We'll push it off later. And then it gets worse. And then it's, we didn't know this was going to happen. You knew this was going to happen. Let's be honest here. Let's cut the crap. Yeah. You knew it was a problem. You identified it as an issue, and then you just kind of sat there and didn't do anything about it. Yeah. And until it became a major problem, that now we're going to go deal with the problem. Now we're going to blame it on this issue, but we're not going to solve the issue. And it just boggles my mind. Like I don't get why it is that we are so quick to blame mental health, but at the same time we don't want to talk about it enough.
There's definitely something can be said about taking responsibility and emotional responsibility. All the more we are responsible for how we think, feel, and behave. So a lot of time people try to blame their reactions on other things when it's a subconscious choice. If we respond in a certain way, it's a subconscious choice to respond in that certain way based on an internal process. So if we had a better understanding of that internal process, then we would more likely respond in a way that we want to respond as opposed to be reactive.
No, I agree with you. And I think though it's kind of, I think I like though recently though the most recent one was Tennessee, where they had an issue where the parents were held accountable because the parents knew the child's intentions were that bad that the dad still bought him a firearm regardless. I'm like, what logic are you using, man? This kid has no good intentions, and then you're gonna give him weaponize this child and it's like, and then you want to go, I don't know what happened, man. I have no clue what happened. You do, because you were the one that bought the thing for him. What do you mean? Like, get the hell out of here. What is that crap? It's like, quit doing that.
That's crazy.
It is, isn't it? It's just wild though. And then it was, the one, the Sandy Hook one, unfortunately, all those younger kids there. And then it was the one, Texas, Hidalgo, I think it was the one in Texas, where that whole situation, it's just crazy to listen to all these things happen. And it's like, oh no, then they want to like sit there and scrutinize everything and go, this, person did this and that. And they're looking at it, and it's like, well, if you knew these are problems, then why were you solving these issues? Like, maybe you should start administering mental health tests to some of these people that are buying firearms and things like that. Just simple things that we could probably fix that we just don't want to do for whatever reason. It's just, we don't want to stop that.
Yeah.
And it's scary because it's just, when is enough going to be enough? Like what is going to be the final tipping point? Because it's going to be all these people are, he was innocent or this and that. And then when it happens to their kid, then it's okay. Then it's a different story.
Yeah. Something needs to be done. We must put an end to this. Like, I know.
You know what I mean? But it's like, then it's when it happens to your kid, then it's a major deal. Then, wait a minute. Before you said this wasn't no big deal. Now it's a big issue because it happened to you directly. Okay, cool. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. I think with shootings as well, I think it's quite easy to almost confuse the issue or to try to bring in other things, because let's say so a child goes on an incident happens with a child and a gun. People say, that's it, ban guns. Well, okay, you can ban guns, but we should surely work with the young people to ensure they don't think in certain ways that make them resort to using guns. So guns aren't the issue. Guns aren't the issue. Yeah.
The inanimate object in the subject line has nothing to do with the person's actions that made that choice conscientiously.
Exactly.
And it makes me laugh when people blame it, like say, let's ban guns. And what is that? What does guns do? Guns didn't do anything. The guns are an inanimate object that had to be used by someone, had to use it by some force. Which would have been the child that had access to it by whatever means they got access to the item, And it's just like, it's so funny because that's their first reaction is to ban everything else, but deal with the one problem that's right there. It's glaring.
Exactly.
It's this child is either bullied or this child had some kind of issues or had something wrong. And they knew it too. They could see the post online. Oh, we got all these posts online. Okay, so if you knew these things were going on, then why didn't you do anything about this sooner? Oh, well, I don't know. Just throw their hands in the air. Like, it's like, you can't throw your hands in the air, man. It's a glaring fact that right there, you're telling us that it's on there. Then you want to blame everybody else because they're not regulating. It's like, you knew this was a problem. Like, it's just, some of these stories just make me laugh. Like, there was a guy that was, I think it was Ohio or something. He was putting some crazy posts online talking about he's going to do all these wild things. And these people are watching him. So we're watching this guy. We know he's making these kind of posts. We're not stopping him, though. We're going to continue letting him keep putting these posts out there. And then all of a sudden, it's a problem. All of a sudden, I don't remember what the tipping point was, but all of a sudden, now it's an issue all of a sudden now because, oh no, he said something too crazy. I'm like, what do you mean? The 15 other posts he said before that were even wilder. Like, come on, man. Like, what?
Yeah, what was the threshold exactly? Like, what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just like it's got to boggle your mind sometimes when you see these things. You're just like, what the heck, dude? And then you see all the facts leading up to it, and it's like, so you already knew this was a problem a long time ago. Oh yeah, we knew this was an issue. So you didn't do anything about this problem? No, it's like, what? You're no better than a kid at this point. You're just like, oh well, I spilled my milk, Mom. I could clean it up, but I'm gonna let you do it instead. It's like, what? It just makes me laugh, man. Like, it just worries me, man. And it's just scary because, like, how bad has it got to get to that point? Like after 9/11, all that stuff, we started accusing different people from different that weren't from the United States of being, terrorists. And it's like, it's not like that though. That's not what that's about. You can't go blaming everybody just because they look like that. It just doesn't work like that, man. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And it's the crazy mindsets that they get into like that. It's just like, y'all just need to quit. It's like, I know you want to blame somebody, but damn, don't blame everybody that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's true. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, crazy. Man, it worries me, man. And it's just like every day, it's like you don't know what you're gonna expect, and you walk into these crazier situations and things like that too, and it's just like, oh man, I worry about the world as it keeps getting, as every day goes by, just the weirder stuff that you keep hearing from people. We could always hope, just put faith and hope that humanity pulls back and stops, doing the crazy things that we hope they're not about to do next,
Yeah, there's always hope. There's always hope.
There's always hope. You're right. There is, Byron. There is very much hope. But as we start getting ready to wrap up, Byron, do you want to go ahead and plug your website? I know you have a website. Is that really the only place you're on? You don't have any other socials you're on or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I recently engaged someone to work on my website to kind of expand my profile, and he created different kind of social media accounts, but I've not fleshed them out. So I think I will at some point. But right now, it's just my website and LinkedIn.
Okay.
So website is just myname.com. So Byron Athene, BYRON ATHENE.com.
Okay, well, I'll have it down below. And when's the book supposed to come out? I know we were talking about it. We never talked about what date is.
Okay, well, the current stage is it's with the editor. She said that this stage should take a couple of months. So hopefully around July or so, it should be ready to publish. But okay. I guess, all things going well.
Okay, well, when you get everything updated for me, let me know, because I'll definitely put in the link in the description down here. So that way everybody can go find and check out the book and things like that. That way all the links are in one spot for you. That way, we can get some eyes on it for you and things like that too. Because I'm interested, I really want to read it too now. Now I'm kind of curious, I'm always curious when I meet people that write books, because I always want to know more, man. Like I can never learn enough.
Well, good for you. Good for you. That's the most sensible, empowering, useful, healthy way to be.
Yeah, and things like that. It's great. I mean, I even read a book about breast cancer memoir. That was an interesting one too, Byron. Let me tell you, I didn't think I'd actually. It wasn't being interested after I finished reading that book. I was just like, wow, okay, well, that was something new for me, and it was so interesting because the vulnerability of the woman that I had her on the show and we were talking about it. I think it was so powerful that she just bears it all for you, man. Like, you're watching the whole process go on and everything else. And it was rough to watch, but at the same time, it's like you're you're not, just because you're not a female doesn't mean you still can't understand these emotions
Yeah,
this
no,
poor
of
woman's
course.
going through.
Yeah, of course.
And she said that a lot of males that had read the book said, wow, thank you so much for telling me, because now I understand what the flip side of what my significant other or my family member or somebody else were dealing with and things like that, what their state of mind was and things too. And I was like, yeah, I could feel that totally from reading this book.
Yeah, yeah, nice. It's never a bad idea to learn more stuff.
Right. So, Byron, as we get ready to wrap up, I got one last question for you. If you
Sure.
could break the stigma about mental health, what would it be?
If I could break what,
Any stigma you think that anything that what's the most popular thing you hear a lot of times people say about mental health?
Maybe depression is a weakness. And of course, depression isn't a weakness. Depression is it's a strategy. It's a subconscious strategy. So if we understood that, we would be more explorative, try to identify what it's a subconscious strategy for, and find a more enjoyable strategy,
right,
or healthier strategy.
I love it. I think it's a great answer, actually, man. I really do. And Brandon, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate
You're
being here.
welcome.
This has been a great time. Listen, you
You're
need
welcome.
to think about that jacket with the sign in the back. I'm serious, man.
Well, thanks for inviting me on.
That way, when you do it too, you can be like, "Listen, Pete for Anxiety gave me this idea, man. Look, I'm gonna flash out the right way." Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this episode of Pete for Anxiety. Byron, thank you so much for coming, man. Like I said, keep me updated on the link for the book. I will have it in here if you guys are watching this video at a later time. As soon as I get the info, I will definitely put in the link below and everything else like that. You know, I'm Pete vs. Anxiety on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?